Hello viewers, you are back at my YouTube channel and I am Sushil Chalot at your service with my 70th video at the YouTube channel. Most of you have subscribed to the channel, and if some of you are new to this channel and seeing it for the first time, I'll request you to subscribe the channel and make the best out of all the videos that I have presented at the channel. Each one of them is innovative, informative and certainly interesting. Well, as I promised in my last video, that was based on fill series in Excel. In that video, I had promised to come back with the next video, that is this video, with dynamic serial number creation. Well, that is what I'm going to talk about in this video. And let's get on to dynamic serial number in Excel by moving to the Excel workbook. Well, in this workbook, let us revise the fill series that we studied in the last video. I have chosen this column A, opted for fill series option, and in this fill series option I see column and linear have been the radio buttons are activated by default as per my selection here, and the step value here is 1, and when I say OK, there it is, the serial number has got created from 1 to 8. Now what is it different from the regular serial number versus the dynamic serial number? Let me give you a demo here. If I opt to choose these two rows and delete them, you see the serial number are no more continuous and consecutive. You see 1, 2, 5, 6, 7, 8, which is not anyone will desire in any of the applications. Well, so what is dynamic? Let us get on to the next workbook worksheet here. And in this worksheet, in this content column, that is column B, I will feed in certain values. Say for example, I'm going to put the month of January 2020. Okay, and now if I opt to choose this range and say fill series, I'll make use of our knowledge earlier and say autofill and say OK. There it is. As soon as I fill in the content value from January 20 to June 21, it has taken an increment of 1 month in every content cell and corresponding in serial number. You see in column A, 1 to 18 serial numbers are created, continuous and consecutive numbers. Well, you may be wondering what is it in the column D? In column D also you see the serial number. Then what is it different from A and D? Let me give another example here. If I opt to delete couple of cells here, you can immediately make out the difference. In column A, the serial number remains 333 consecutive 3 times, and then it goes on next incremental value, wherein the cells in column B are not blank. Whereas in column D, whenever there are column B cells which are blank, the corresponding serial number cells in column D are seen to be blank. This is difference. So certainly what we see in column D can be desired in some applications, whereas what we see in column A will be desired in other applications. Well, if you see one by one, if I remove this, with the removal of these cells, you can see serial number in column A remains 1 everywhere, whereas in column D it's only 1. If I go on adding something in the content value, say like this, so as and when I go on adding the content value, that means the cell becomes non-blank in column B, the corresponding serial number appears in column A. So many a times you must be seeing some videos on other channels also, wherein the content when filled, the serial number appears. This is what people call as automated serial number creation. Well, so I'm covering both the automated serial number as well as the continuous consecutive serial numbers, that is a dynamic serial number. Now let me give you a demonstration here as to how I created it. Well, if you can see in this video, I'm going to explain you 3 ways of creating the serial numbers, the dynamic serial numbers I mean. Hi, in this, I'm using count a function, and how I'm using it, let me give you a demo here. So I'm using count a function. I'm going to choose the cell B2, use function F4 to lock the cell, give colon, and then again put in B2. Well, There it is. I'm going to lock this cell B2, then give colon and B2 again and close the parenthesis. So what is it going to do? It is going to count starting from B2 cell up to B2 cell. So in this cell K2, it is going to count B2 to B2, that will be 1. When I'm going to pull down this formula or this function in the subsequent cells, the second portion of the range B2 will go on changing to B3, B4, B5, so on and so forth. Whereas the first part which I have locked, that is B2, the B2 cell will remain locked. So in the cell K3, it is going to count from B2 to B3. That will be two cells. And well, using this logic, I'm going to use the count A function to create the serial number over here. And there you see on the screen, the serial numbers are created 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And 5 onwards, the sixth cell in column B is empty, blank. That's why it continued to take the serial number as 5 for the remaining cells. Well, if I go here and again I put in certain content values there, let me put in some random values so that those get filled. And as soon as these cells are filled, these are non-blank cells, the serial numbers come in over here. This is how the serial numbers can be created. But well, what happens if this cell turns out to be blank? As I showed you earlier, these two cells now show the value 2, which is not desired. So how to cater this or take care of this? There is a way. I'm going to use the function if, that is quite simple and quite very well popular, and you might be knowing about it. So now in this case I'm going to put B2 if the value of B2 is not equal to blank. Okay, so it is some content is there in cell B2. Then what? Then it has to use the count A function, and this count A function, it has to count from B2, count from B2 to B2. The same function what I used earlier. I'm going to close the parenthesis, and what if the value is false? Then I'd require just a blank cell if the value of if is false. So if B2 is equal to blank, oh sorry, not equal to blank, then count blah blah, and if it is blank, then return a blank serial number. So this is what I'm going to put in. I'm going to drag this function down up to the last cell, and there it is on the screen. You see very clearly 1, 2, blank, 3, 4, 5, so and so forth. The serial numbers are created. This way one can create a dynamic serial number. So if at all I happen to delete say these three rows over here, what is going to happen? Let's see. Well, the serial number continue to remain as they were 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, so on and so forth, and same over here in column L. So friends, I have given you example, I have given you illustration, and then explain you how to do the needful by using the count a function. Let's get on to the next one. In this case, now I'm going to use the function row. The row function returns the row number in Excel. Well, if I put in row over here and say over here and say row, say enter. So by default, now Excel is going to return the value 2 because this is the second row. Well, but in serial number, it has to be 1. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to put row minus 1. So whatever is the row number minus 1 will be the value over here in the B column B2 cell. And if I pull or drag this down over here, I should get the serial numbers quite obviously. Well, this is how you can create the serial numbers using row function in Excel. And this serial numbers also are dynamic because by default if I delete these two rows, the row number gets shifted, and the rows minus 1 is the index number over here. So it also will get automatically changed to the corresponding numbers. This is how dynamic serial number can be created using row. Now the next thing what I'm going to show here is using subtotal function. How can the subtotal function be used for creating the serial number? So if I go on feeding some values here, I am going to see the serial numbers getting created over here. Now what happened here? When I put in the value k here, the function here or the formula here which was carried forward, it has an error here. It will always measure from B12 to B12, which is not desired. We require from B2 up to B12. And once we have that corrected, there it is, the serial number gets converted to 11. This way subtotal can be used. So I have given you a demo here as to how subtotal can be functioned. Now let me explain you how the function is to be used here. So I'm going to use the function subtotal. Subtotal has got multiple options here. Friends, if you happen to see my video on subtotal, it will be much elaborated there as to how subtotal function can be used. I won't be covering that portion here. I'll be directly using the subtotal function. So I have chosen the choice 3, that is count A here. Now what next? In this count A, I have to give the reference numbers. So again, the reference number here will be as we did earlier, B2, lock the cell. The next thing what is or what can be done is give the range and put in B2 value again. Close the parenthesis and say enter. Well, there it is. The value of 1 has come in. I'm going to pull it down over here and I get the corresponding serial numbers by default by using the subtotal function. Now, if certain cells turn out to be blank, then what? Now, I will show you how to create the function in all cells in a given range. So, I have selected all these cells. I will go to the function bar and use the function if as I had done earlier. In this if function, if at all, what is the logical value that I have to put in? The B2 cell should not be blank. This is the value I have put in. So if not blank, then what? Then I want the count to happen, and I'm going to use the subtotal function here to make the count. As I explain you in the subtotal function, I'm going to use the option 3, that is count A. Give the range again, so that is going to be B2, function F4 to lock the cell. Give the range from B2 up to B2, and I'm not going to lock the second part of the cell or this function. I'll leave it as it is. Well, if B2 is not equal to blank, then subtotal function will be used to count it, and if at all it is blank or if it is false, then what? I want just a blank value if it is false. I'm going to close the parenthesis for if function, and now instead of giving enter, I'm going to use control and enter. Control and enter. As soon as I do it, the function what I fed in the first cell gets propagated to all the cells as you see on your screen. And there it is, the serial numbers have been created. Now let me give you a demo by creating certain blank cells over here. I'm going to delete these values over here and see what happens here. So wherever there are blanks in column B, that is B4 and B7 cells are blank. Correspondingly, what we saw here in column E, the cells E3 and E4 have the same serial number value, and serial number in E6 and E7 are same. Whereas in column F, the serial numbers continue to remain consecutive and continuous. Friends, this is how one can create serial numbers. Those can be made dynamic, those can be made automated. Whenever the inputs are given in, the corresponding serial numbers pop up. Whenever the inputs are not available, the serial numbers will vanish away. There it is, you see over here. That's it. Here, whenever I make it blank, the serial number gets converted to the earlier value. Well, I hope this video has been informative and worthy for you. You have learned something that you can practice and apply in your needs, in your applications. If you have liked it, please do put your thumbs up at the YouTube channel, express your likes, give your encouraging comments so that the further videos can be made as per your requirements and your applications. Well, don't forget to subscribe the channel. Again, I'll repeat the same thing, and I'll be back soon with my next video, the next informative and worthy video. Till then, goodbye, take care.